Hello, and welcome to today's Abound Brand Spotlight. I'm sitting down with Patty Davidson. She's the founder of Playful Pastimes, and Playful Pastimes sells premium jigsaw puzzles and gifts. So thank you so much for meeting with us, Patty.
Thank you.
And I'm personally am a big puzzle fan. I'm excited to dive into this. And so just like to start us off, I'm curious, what's your typical elevator pitch to retailers? Tell me like a little bit about your brand and your line.
Well, I guess the number one thing is that the quality is what an avid puzzler, anyone who is really into puzzling, it's all about the quality. And that was the number one goal when I set out to make my own brand was quality had to come first. The pieces had to be nice and thick. They had to interlock properly. One of my big things is when you're doing a puzzle, it's nice to be able to move sections of the puzzle around so that you can work it and then move it into its proper position. And then when you're all finished, it's nice to be able to pick up the puzzle. So if you decided you wanted to frame it or do anything with it, it's just you can pick up the whole completed puzzle. So we call that the pickup challenge. And my puzzles generally pass the challenge with flying colors.
Wow, I do like doing that, and I feel like I've almost never had a puzzle that does that. So yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know it was like a thing, but I love that, the pickup challenge.
Yeah. The other thing that's really important is that I love color in a puzzle, and some puzzlers love breaking it down by shape. So as long as it's a good die cut where there's not a lot of false fits, then I really focus on color. And so I don't like an image that's too busy, but there has to be enough going on. So there's just a nice balance to all of my images in the puzzles.
I'm like very excited to learn more about puzzles because I feel like you really know your stuff. And like I said, I like puzzles, but I've never like thought at this level about them. So that's very exciting. So with that, I kind of want to go into your best sellers. So tell me, if a retailer goes to your shop right now and they're like, oh, I don't know exactly which ones to get. What do you recommend for like that first order, like the puzzles you just know are going to sell through?
Well, first of all, the 1,000 piece count are always the top sellers. And when I first came up with my brand, I came out with 750 piece count and 1,000. And I soon realized that although 750 is a a lot of people like it, the issue is that most people don't search for it. They'll search for 1,000 or 500. Or of course, if it's a children's puzzle, 300 and under, or if you're a expert puzzler, you'll go 1,500 and up. And so I found that even though my 750 piece counts had great images, it didn't trend as nicely for an online business because people aren't searching for that piece count. And then I started off with photos of my own in my own library, or I had a friend give me a photo, or so it all started off with photography photos because I love photography, and then I've expanded beyond that. One of my really top sellers is this one here with all the different colors of spices. So this is called the Spice of Life. And it's got lots of very rich colors. It's a great fun one to do. And then I've got Greek Alley, which is over here in my display here. That was hands down one of my top sellers of my early releases. And I'm noticing with my later releases, a couple others that are trending quite nicely.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I love all of that. And yeah, it's so cool that you're also adding your own photography to the whole business. I guess we've gotten into it a little bit, but now I'm just excited to hear about your story. So it seems like you love puzzles. Am I right in guessing that you love puzzles?
I love puzzles.
Okay.
So my story is I was in the technology field and I ran a consulting and training business. And so I had, lots of computer skills that I could put to use. I sold my business in 2017, And I was just doing some part-time consulting after the sale of my business. And it was always on site. And COVID hit. And of course, that came to a screeching halt. And I love working. I'm a bit of a workaholic. And when that came to a screeching halt and everybody was staying home, finding things to do, and I saw that puzzles were trending, I thought, wouldn't that be fun just to have a hobby business at this stage in life? Who knows when we're going to be back doing on-site consulting, and besides, I was kind of burned out on the travel of that went along with that. So I decided I would just dive right in, and I did some homework on where to get them produced. It's really hard to find a producer in North America. That was challenge number one. And then what am I going to focus on just online sales or wholesale? And then I realized, well, with the minimum order quantities that you have to produce, then I better go with wholesale along with online. So I do I have a wholesale side to my business as well as selling off my own website. And I just started having fun with it. I just love looking at imagery. So whether it's my own photo library, or I had people, friends, family saying, how about this one? So they would suggest something. I have a good friend, she's a food stylist. And actually her image that she gave me is this one here. I just love this one. It's called Spring Picnic. And so she's a food stylist, and she, had numerous photos for me to choose from. And then I just started, growing the library. Some of them I've retired. What I've learned is that retailers, they always want something fresh and new. So rather than continuing to print the same puzzles that actually did well, I had to expand my library for my wholesale side of the business. And so maybe some of those that I've retired that were good sellers, I'll eventually bring back in.
That's awesome. This is, yeah, I mean, you're definitely giving me the puzzle craze. Like, I raised a puppy over COVID. And so I take a little puzzle break because it was just going to get knocked over and eaten. But now she's grown up and I'm like, I'm ready for my puzzle return, Well, thank you so much for talking to me. And is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
One of the most important things, I've always been a real charity advocate. I serve on boards. I've always volunteered in schools. I work in food banks. I'm a huge advocate for volunteer work and charity in general. And when I realized that you're probably never going to get rich selling puzzles, it's a competitive, tough business. I thought, well, rather than focusing on a profit model, focus on a charity model. And so I also, during COVID, so many people were talking about the challenges of being cooped up. Mental health issues were early on being discussed as something we were all going to be struggling with. And so I started investigating, well, what aligns itself with puzzles? And what do I love about puzzles? I love the fact that it's like it can be a bit meditative and very therapeutic to just sit and work a puzzle. And so I thought, well, if we're talking about, mental health and the advantage of doing puzzles, I want to get my puzzles into as many hands of people who are being cooped up right now. So I went to Caledon, a local chapter of our Meals on Wheels, and I asked them if I could partner with them and they could get my puzzles into hands of individuals who were cooped up at home, didn't have the mobility. So I used them as a vehicle to get my hands into my puzzles into the hands of people that were at home. And then I aligned myself with a foundation that does brain research. So Brain Research Foundation, as well as a youth mental health. So I do quarterly donations to both of those organizations. And then I donate physical puzzles to, now that the independent living centers have opened back up and they're allowed to gather again, I've tried to get my puzzles into independent living centers as well. So it's, as I said, it's been a very rewarding venture, and I've thoroughly involved what I've been able to do outside of just running a puzzle business.
That's great. Yeah, that sounds like you're able to like add so many things to it. And like that, I mean, yeah, it's like puzzles just do give you that little slice of joy. So that's really awesome that you're getting them into those people's hands. Thank you so much for talking to us, Patty, and definitely check out Playful Pastimes on Abound today. All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh yeah, thank you.